This could have been prevented if we had somewhere safe to go.
A driver crashes into a homeless camp in Salem, killing 4 people. A horrific scene early this morning, and police are still piecing together exactly what happened. Thanks so much for being here with us on KGW News at 5. I'm Brittany Falkers. And tonight we are hearing from people who live at that campsite near the intersection of Front Street and Northeast and Division. Christelle Kumwe is there right now. And Christelle, you had a chance to talk to some witnesses who say the car missed them by just inches.
Brittany, yeah, people here are devastated and understandably shaken up. The camp is right behind me on Front Street, on that green patch of grass by the road on Front Street. Now, a witness tells me the car flew past him before crashing into a few tents here on the campsite. Now, police believe alcohol may have played a role in the crash. People here tell me they just want a safe place to go.
All I remember is the screaming, pretty much.
The screams now haunt Ryan Wright after a car crashed into the campsite where he lives, here on Front Street Northeast.
We heard a pop and the crash, and I look over and there's a car coming straight past us.
Police markings show the car went over the curb to the opposite side of the road and straight into the camp.
I could have reached out and touched the car as it flew by. I was almost part of it.
It missed him by inches.
It broke that tree in half right there, and it lands right on top of 3 of the tents, killing some of my friends.
Police say 2 people died at the scene, another 2 died at the hospital, and 2 others have life-threatening injuries. The driver was also taken to the hospital. We don't know what caused the crash.
Numb. I don't know how to feel. Confused. Where are we supposed to go that's safe? This could have been prevented if we had somewhere safe to go.
Wright and most of the people here used to camp across the street at Marion Square Park. He moved here when the city cleaned the park earlier this month in response to public health concerns. This campsite was slated for cleanup this coming Wednesday. The cleanups come with offers of alternate shelters, but not everyone accepts.
It's where can they go? And right now, there's not enough answers to that question.
Jimmy Jones is with the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency, serving the homeless population. He says about 1,800 people sleep outside in the Salem area, but the amount of shelters comes short.
We still have no answer for about 500 people who have been outside for a long time. Going back for years and years, we've had individuals struck by cars in those areas, and it's one of the bigger ways in which the homeless population in this community have passed away in the past.
We just need somewhere that we can go that we're not going to get bothered and that's safe for us, that stuff like this isn't going to happen to us.
Until then, Wright continues the struggle to survive.
Same thing I do every night, survive, one way or another.
Now haunted by screams. Now, Salem police has so far not released any updates on the conditions of those who were taken to the hospital. That includes the 2 victims and the driver who was alone in the vehicle. Brittany?
All right, Christelle, thank you. Well, we have an update on rescue efforts for a man missing from a sunken fishing boat off the Oregon coast. The U.S. Coast Guard has suspended its search for 68-year-old Mike Morgan. Around midnight Saturday, Morgan sent out a Mayday signal, saying his boat was going down about 35 miles off the coast of Florence. He also reported another crew member was on board. A motor lifeboat arrived shortly after. They found a debris field and 1 crew member dead. The Coast Guard continued their search for Morgan for more than 24 hours. In total, crews searched a 232 square mile area, but ultimately were unable to locate Morgan. In a statement, the Coast Guard said the decision to suspend an active search is never easy, and their thoughts and condolences are with the families throughout this unimaginably challenging time. As Russia continues attacking Ukrainian cities and killing innocent citizens, the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S. is calling on world leaders to stop Vladimir Putin.
It's the brutal genocide attempt to eliminate or exterminate Ukrainian nation, but also attack on democracy, attack on anyone who wants to live peacefully in their own country.
Today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky continued his plea for Western assistance in the war. He accused the U.S. and other allies for what he called a ping-pong about who should hand over jets and how. Meanwhile, White House officials continue to clarify remarks from President Joe Biden last night. They say the president was not calling for a regime change in Moscow when he said Russia's leader cannot remain in power.
And how does this end with Putin in power?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, me and my colleagues have been hard at work at this and sitting with a lot of administration personnel. And I've heard it from the Secretary of Defense to some of our top diplomatic leaders that this is a very hard ending to see in any way for Putin to ultimately be, quote unquote, victorious in this.
Today, Ukraine's deputy prime minister said 2 humanitarian routes have opened. They're reportedly allowing civilians to flee some of the hardest hit areas, including Mariupol. We're tracking the global impact of the war in Ukraine, and experts fear it could escalate hunger in Africa. African families are already seeing an increase in the price of essential commodities. Most African countries depend heavily on imported food, such as wheat and vegetable oil from Ukraine and Russia. The United Nations says the 2 countries produce nearly a third of the world's wheat and more than half of the world's sunflowers and seeds. Kenya's food vendors say they're getting hit hard by soaring flour prices, making it difficult to support their families.
Some of the staples we have in Kenya are wheat. Wheat is used to make bread, is to make chapati, is to make all these things. 80% of wheat in Kenya is imported from many countries, and one of the biggest suppliers is Russia.
The situation is making a food crisis already worse. According to World Vision, 1 in 5 people faced hunger in 2020. The situation is worse in Eastern Africa. 7.2 million people are at risk of starvation, and 26.5 million face acute food insecurity. All right, let's focus back here at home, because for many of us, the effects of the pandemic may really be lightening up. But there are a lot of bars and local restaurants that are still on the brink of failure. In many cases, it's because they never got federal grants from the Small Business Administration to help them survive. Tim Gordon tells us how an Oregon congressman is trying to get more help for those businesses.
It's been 2 full years now with the closed signs, the laid-off employees, and the empty chairs. Some 90,000 bars and restaurants across the country have closed permanently because of the pandemic, and others are hanging on by a thread.
We need to have people understand the challenges you face and committed to long-term solutions.
Oregon Congressman Earl Blumenauer held a meeting this week with other representatives and some of the hurting business owners. Blumenauer led the charge early in the pandemic to get more than $28 billion to bars and restaurants. He says it helped save 100,000 of them, but 177,000 more are still in big trouble. Blumenauer wants more money for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund to help them.
We're here today to continue the drumbeat of the need for replenishment, what difference it makes, how it is affecting these vital businesses.
One of those businesses is the Reel'em Inn Tavern in Southeast Portland. It's been around since the 1940s, but pandemic times have been the toughest.
On March 16th, 2020, the nightmare began. We closed our doors. Within 2 weeks, we were laying off our entire staff.
Alex Briggs says he and his wife took over the Reel'em Inn in 2017 and were growing the business before COVID. Last May, the tavern, known for its fried chicken, was awarded a restaurant revitalization grant. But what was promised never came through, and now they are so far behind.
We are on the brink of ruin through no fault of our own. If we are not funded, this will be a generational catastrophe whose ripple effects will be felt on every main street in America.
Briggs and thousands of other distressed business owners are counting on the federal government to help them make a comeback. Blumenauer says he has support from more than 150 lawmakers so far that want restaurant relief as part of any additional COVID-19 spending package.
We are looking at every avenue, any legislation that goes through, trying to see if it can be attached, trying to build the base of support beyond what we've got.
But for some places, time is truly running out. Tim Gordon, KGW.